It was not so surprising that ghost stories were emanating from a place that was largely becoming a ghost village. But it wasn't the first time in its history that the village had become derelict, because back in 1631, plague struck, and the consequences for a small community like Heptonstall's were catastrophic. Between May and September of that year, 107 people died. Many entire families just vanished overnight. Contemporary reports tell us that the streets of Heptonstall became so deserted that they grassed over. If this wasn't enough of a calamity, this already decimated community was thrown into even further turmoil. Just 10 years later on, another terrible date in history. November the 1st, 1643. The date civil war came to Heptonstall. Villagers were forced to flee their homes in the face of a royalist onslaught of 400 musketeers and 400 cavalry intent on flushing out parliamentary sympathisers. But these royalists weren't too lucky. Stormy winds and heavy rain lashed the hillside, and many of these men were swept away in the swollen current of the River Hebden. Their screams alerted the parliamentary defenders to the army's position, who then proceeded to attack the survivors. Eventually they did fight them off and entered the village, but only to find the place empty. They were so angry that they set about razing the houses to the ground. A total of 14 houses were completely destroyed. Many more were seriously damaged. The village was completely decimated. It's possible that many of the houses we see in the village now were built to replace those destroyed in this calamity. It's also possible that 320 years later, when the council demolished Weaver Square, that some of the same houses were involved again. Today, however, it has to be said that the square does perform a useful role in the village as a venue for fetes. And every year on Good Friday, the traditional time of Pesegging, when literally thousands of people descend on the village to watch this extraordinary old mumming play, whose origin is steeped in mystery. The pubs are normally both full of people. On the streets, well, you never know quite what you're going to see. Essentially, the plays hark back to the time when St. George had a phenomenal cult following. So popular was this superstar that he survived both Edward VI abolishing his feast day and Oliver Cromwell banning the performance of his plays, and that in itself is a magnificent feat of showmanship.